Maseches Bava Kama Daf Nun Amud Aleph. We are in the third wide line. Right now, what we can see on the screen is the chart, the chart attack. It's not as complicated as you think. This one, yes. And I actually found a way to remember who says what. There are basically two Tanoim here and two Amaroim explaining the Tanoim. Not the end of the world. The two Tanoim are Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. What's the argument about? About a boar. A boar b'rshus ha-rabim or b'rshus ha-yochid. A pit dug in rshus ha-rabim is a pit that, okay, a pit in rshus ha-rabim, the opinion of Rabbi Ishmael is the Yuchayiv and a pit in rshus ha-rabim. If you dug a pit in the public domain, you are chayiv according to Rabbi Shmuel and Roshus HaRabim. Nobody can argue on that because that's a Mishnah. Why? Because one of the psukim says, Ki yichre, ki yiftach, any kind of digging, being involved in the action of digging the bore, that's what makes you chayiv, unless you, of course, filled it responsibly. Then we have the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, the bore that the Torah was mechayiv is one of Shus HaYochid. If you have a bore in your own domain, which you dug and belongs to you, and then you're mafkir your domain, you actually disowned your own backyard, and now kids can play there and adults can walk around, but your own bore you did not mafkir, then it's your property. You're chayiv because your property, the bore, is what's harming everybody else, and that you're chayiv. That's Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Now, comes Rabba and comes Rav Yosef, and they each one understands machlokas of the Tanoim differently. Yeah, here, take this. Says Rabba, and I have an amazing way, Baruch Hashem, to remember who says what. Rabba Rabim, Rabba Rabim. Rabba says that Reshus HaRabim, everyone agrees, Reshus HaRabim, you are chayiv. That's not disputable. The machlokas is Reshus HaYochid. Rabbi Shmuel says you're potur, and Rosh Yochid. Rabbi Kiva says you're chayiv. And Rav Yosef starts with a yud. And Rishus, what? Rabbi Shmuel says potur in Rosh Yochid, as he said in the Mishnah. But that's no, don't get mixed up with the yud of Rabbi Shmuel. And here comes Rabbi Yosef, and Rabbi Yosef the Amoiro says Rishus HaYochid. Everyone agrees Rishus HaYochid, you are chayiv. Everyone agrees, according to Rav Yosef, that Yochid, you are chayiv. Good? Rabba Rabim, Rav Yosef Yochid. So what's machlokes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva? That's in Reshus HaRabim. According to Rav Yosef, according to Rabbi Akiva, Reshus HaRabim is Votur, and Reshus HaRabim, according to Rabbi Shmuel, is chayiv. Okay, we'll go back here, look at the chart again, it won't hurt you, and then we'll continue now into the Gemara, because the Gemara develops the machlokes and takes it further. Very nice. By the way, I have a very old debt, and I'll say it online. My debt is to you people from 2 shiurim ago, and I forgot to mention it yesterday. We spoke about the case of the woman who was unfortunately kicked in the tummy, and the kids were miscarried. Now, who has to pay the lady? Well, the person has to pay, of course, the one who kicked her. But who does he pay to? Let's say she's a giores. Let's say her husband is a ger, and the ger died, right? And she was kicked after the ptir of her husband. When everyone's alive, who say what? The babies, the husband gets it. Now the husband is no longer there, and she was kicked after his death. Where the machloikes, yeah, Rabba and Rav Chizda, do we say the vlodos are hefker and nobody has to pay? Or do we say that the vlodos belong to her and he has to pay her? She's now the new owner of the babies. I'm so sad. Parents ask me, what's halacha? No news. It's still a machloikes. According to the Mechaber, Shulchan Aruch says that you got to pay the woman. And the Ramah says that there are those who say you don't have to pay anybody. So still here. Okay, so Sephardi Beis Din would say that the woman wins, and Ashkenazi Beis Din would say, you see, women's rights by Sephardim. Don't, that's how it goes. So, Mashenken, but the Ashkenazi Beis Din, then Yesh Omrim, he says that maybe nobody has to pay her. Okay, good. Anachanami. Weiter. Meisivi, we're in the third wide line. And we're going to bring a brisa, which will be a challenge Yeah, we're going to see if it's going to be a challenge for Rabba or Rabbi Yosef. Meisivi. A person dug a bore in Rashus Harabim, but the petach is Rashus HaYochid. We always go by the opening, which means the opening, the mouth, the rim of the bore is in Rashus HaYochid. Yeah? No, and he stuffed the other one. The other opening is that actually some of the Rishonim says he stuffed it, he filled it. So really, it's like an underground Gaza tunnel. Rashus HaYochid is where it starts. And if you want to slide in and you think it's fun, you'll end up quickly in Rashus Harabim. The Chiddush is that Rashus HaYochid is it goes by the opening. Potu is Potu. If somebody falls in his Potu. Now, this is not Rashus HaYochid that still belongs to the person and he's exempt. That's not a Chiddush. We're talking here, even if afterwards he was mafkir, his Rashus HaYochid, except for the bow, and people walk around in his ex-Rashus HaYochid, still is Potu. He's still Potu. Okay, well, we saw opinions who hold in the past. Yeah, you can look at the charts. There are those who hold that the born Rashus HaYochid, you're Potu even after you're mafkir. What did the Amshel Shlomo say? Just by saying you're mafkir, saying is not enough to actually, you've not created havoc. It's not enough to be mechayiv on a bow. Now, although he's not allowed to do that, what? It's not enough to be mechayiv me. Even though I did hefker, it's not enough to be mechayiv me, even though I was mafkir. Even though I was mafkir, and by the word of my mouth, I said this is hefker, and I created trouble because people come in and they fall into the bore, and I'm not a nice guy. Not a shidduch for taichtal. Nevertheless, I'm potu because hefker is not enough of an action to be mechayiv me. That's as far as I know what I said, and that's what the Yom Shlomo says, according to those who hold that way. Even though he's not allowed to do that, not just it's not nice, it's not allowed to. You know why? The fishen oisin halal tachas rashus harabim halal. People build halals in the house. A person is not allowed to create a cavity under rashus harabim, which means although the opening of the bore is rashus hayochid, but lamaisa under rashus harabim there is a cavity underground. The entire London has halal underneath, right? Mind the gap. But lamaisa, this halal is dangerous. Even though this halal is not called halal, it's a cavity. Even though it's not a bore because it's not open to Rashus Harabim, but eventually it's not safe. It's not safe. People will trample, walk on it, and you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So it's not allowed, but he's not chayiv. He's not chayiv. It is like oster aval potu. Because lamaisa, the opening is Rashus HaYochid. So the Brisa started off by saying Bo Rashus HaYochid is potu. Okay, that follows definitely Rabbi Akiva, according to one, or right? Rabbi Akiva is definitely saying that Rashus HaYochid is potu. We'll see later on more. That's the second part of the Brisa. The one who digs boros, shichin, u'maos, these are boros of all shapes and form, trenches, round, square, whichever way. Rashus HaYochid u'pischol Rashus Harabim. The opposite case. The opening is the Rashus Harabim. Chayev. This Rashus Harabim, that's a bor Rashus Harabim. Bor Rashus Harabim. The opening is Rashus Harabim. If anybody glitches in, goes into where? Into Rashus HaYochid eventually. So the door, so to speak, to the bor is Rashus Harabim. It's called Rashus Harabim Dikibor, and he's chayev. Is he chayev l'kul alma? Everyone agrees to that? Like I was taught all my life? No. My bubble was blown yesterday. Why? Because according to Rabbi Akiva, according to Rabbi Yosef, Otu, right? According to Rabbi Akiva, according to Rabbi Yosef, you're not chayav in Rashus Harabim. That's just an insight. Third part of the Brisa. We're now back to Rashus HaYochid. The first and the third part of the Brisa talk about Rashus HaYochid. Third part of the Brisa. A person who digs the hole in his own domain, Rashus Harabim, right next to Rashus Harabim. Yeah, you're cutting it slim. You are way too close to Rashus Harabim, but you have a house or a front garden, and now you're digging a hole right in your domain, but very close to Rashus Harabim, dangerously close to the street. If you dig it for ushin, oshiot in fancy Hebrew means foundations. Of course, you all know that word. Excuse me. Oshiot is foundations. Yeah, it's a pasuk in Ezra. So if you want to extend your house, the guy has a house, he wants to make an extension, and he wants to create a basis or stronger foundation for his house, and that is an accepted thing, even though it's very near Shus Rabbi. Right now, he did not yet build the foundations. He's still in the digging part. He's now digging in right next to Shus Rabbi. Potu, he's exempt if anything happens. Why? Even though it's very near Shus Rabbi, because being choifer for my own foundation, says the Rashba, is something that everybody wants to do, even though it's dangerously close to Rishus Rabim, says the Rashba, don't shout at me, says Mr. Shiputzim, Mr. Refurbishment, Mr. Extension. Today I'm building it, tomorrow you want to do it. Everybody wants to have the option of doing it themselves. When you want to, excuse my English, curse the neighbor upstairs who does the drilling 24 hours a day, not 24, yeah? Because he's doing Shiputzim, don't complain too much. You may do the same thing tomorrow, and the neighbor downstairs will shout at you. So keep still. That's the logic over here. Because Ushin is my own domain and making an extension is accepted and expected, Mimela, I'm potu. Only because of that. Only because it's for the purpose of the refurbishing. One second. Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda, Michayev. Rabbi Yosef Bar Yehuda, that's an aside point here. He says you chayev even if you built it near Rishus Rabim, even for the good reason of rebuilding and extending. Why? By the way, extending is the way I'm saying it. Rashi says it's to strengthen the foundations of your house, but it's the same thing. He says no. Even when you do the shiputzim in your house, take the precautions and build a mechitza, a wall of 10 tefachim between you and the street, between your bore and the street. Or make sure that between your hole with your holy, beautiful refurbishing and rebuilding that you're doing between that hole and where people actually walk and animals walk, you have to maintain a safe distance of 4 tefachim. Yeah, the size of a lulav. Yeah, minimum lulav. Yeah. So, okay, that's the end of the quote of the Brisa. Before I hear your question, Baruch, so now the Reisha said, if you build something, not build, you created a hole, a bow in Rishus HaYochid, even in the forbidden way, the nasty way, I afterwards made it accessible to everyone. I'm still potter. Okay, there is such an opinion. The middle spoke about Rishus Rabim, let's ignore it for now. And the Sefer said, when I'm potter, if I build a bore in Rishus HaYochid, only if it's justifiable, special permission for builders, for people who do the extensions. But Stamazoi, I am chayiv. Okay. The Bryce already from the Resh and the Seifa, it's mashmos from the right. Okay, you're making me continue. 1 second. Time, the Gemara is asking the question, not me. Who am I before? Time, the Ushin. The only reason why the Seifa says it's okay to build your wall in Rishus HaYochid, and if people fall there, you say it's not your problem. If you build it for the special permission from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ushin. For the extension of my house, says Rashba, that's Tzarech Me'odom. Alav le'ushin chayev. So if not for ushin, if I just build it in my Rishus HaYochid and it's in a dangerous way accessible to people, mamish a centimeter away from there, I'm chayev. So the Reisha said I'm potter, and the Reisha says I'm chayev. So l'choiro, it's a stira in the Brisa. That's a question of the Gemara from the beginning to the end. Yes, sir. I'm willing to hear a question right now. Yeah. So now, before we continue to explain the question, I'm going over the chart again. According to Rabba, Rabim, you always chayiv. The disagreement is regarding Rishus HaYochid. Rabbi Kiva says you chayiv also on Rishus HaYochid, and Rabbi Shmuel says on Rishus HaYochid you're potur. Okay, that's Rabba. Rabbi Yosef says no. Everyone is chayiv on Rishus HaYochid. Rishus HaYochid, Yosef, everyone's chayiv on Rishus HaYochid. What's the argument? Rishus HaRabim. Rabbi Akiva, to our great shock and disbelief, Rabbi Akiva exempts the board and Rishus HaRabim, according to Rabbi Yosef, and Rabbi Yishmael is Mechayev. That's again a sikum. Thank you. Yeah, look at those papers. Very nice. Now, according to this, let's go back to the Gemara and see if the Brisa survives both opinions. Like the Gemara, what did we see in the Brisa? The first part of the Brisa says, I am potu on Rishus Yochid. The Sefer says, I am Chayev. Correct the Gemara, wait a second. Homani, who is the author of this interesting Brisa? Bishmal Rabba, Rabba is good. Why? Reisha Rabbi Shmuel, Sefer Rabbi Akiva. According to Rabba, there was a disagreement about Rishus HaYochid, yes or no. So although the brisa is not consistent, we can live with that. We've seen many times the brises or mishnayos don't have to be consistently, homogeneously the same opinion. So good. Reishas or bishmor that says you are potu and reshus hayochid. Sefer Bekiva Yechayev and reshus hayochid. Life is good. Ela Rabbi Yosef, that's a tough question on Rabbi Yosef. Why? Rabbi Yosef says Yosef Melamed and Yosef Yochid. Rabbi Yosef says, and everybody agrees consensus that reshus hayochid Yechayev. Who's the author of the brisa? Bishlam Seifa. The end of the brisa is very nice. Hakol. The end of the sefer that says reshus hayochid, you are chayev, except for ushin, the chiputzim. Everything is good. You're chayev. Ela reisha mani lo Rabbi Shmuel v'lo Rabbi Akiva. The reisha that says that you're potter in the bone reshus hayochid doesn't follow anybody, neither Shmuel nor Rabbi Akiva. That's an orphaned, bereft brisa. That at the beginning of the brisa doesn't fit any opinion. Who on earth says reshus hayochid you're potter? That's wrong according to Rabbi according to Rabbi Yosef. Okay. Omar lecha Rabbi Yosef, says Rabbi Yosef, I'm coming here with flying colors. Rabbi Yosef is going to be the winner now. Kula divrei hakoli. Wow. The entire brisa fits everyone's opinion. Phew. Why? The reisha shelo hifkir lo reshusa v'lo boiroi. Wow. The reisha, when it says you're potter, you know why you're potter? Because you dug it in your domain, behind your nice fancy little picket fence, and you're not mafkir it. You're not mafkir it. It stayed yours. Everybody agrees that if I was not mafkir my domain, it's my yard, my house, my backyard, my patio, and a doggy bar over there, and nobody's invited to my house, b'chal, mimela, then I'm potter. That's the reisha, and everyone agrees to that. Sheikh and the Seifa is talking when I built it right next to Shus Harabim, and everybody can very, very easily fall in. Yeah, mimela there. I am chayev, and that's very good. L'kula alma. Frekt Rashi, what I think people here would want to ask, what's the chiddush? Why does the Reisha have to tell me that what? I built my own, dug my own bore in the middle of my own chotzer, yeah, nobody's invited, and my guests have been warned. Of course, I'm potu if some intruder comes in. What's the chiddush? Answers Rashi. What did we say in the Reisha? Where is this bore really? Is it 100% under Shus hayochid, or is it slanted, diagonally going? And therefore, is that good? Is that nice to do? Very good. Very, very good. Because in Reisha we spoke specifically that this man is a bad man. Maybe he's not bad, but he's doing something osur. He's digging from his domain into under Shus Harabim, undermining and weakening Shus Harabim, and it's osur. Havimani would say, you're like Esav. You look very good on the outside. It's my private domain, my private place, But Lamaisa, if people would glitch in, they would end up in a Shus Harabim, and this is undermining Shus Harabim. Chiddush is you're still potter, even though it's also to do. But since Lamaisa, at the end of the day, we judge a bore by its opening, not by its end. Mimela is potter, but that's a weko of a chiddush, because we go by the opening, we go by the rim, we go by the start. And Mimela, Lamaisa, this brisa follows everybody. Toysus points out, you can look at Toysus, the second Toysus here, it says it's not true exactly that the entire brisa follows everyone, because the middle of the brisa tells me Reshus Harabim is chayev. And according to Rav Yosef, according to Rabbi Akiva, that's not true. Right? According to Rabbi Akiva, Bo Reshus Harabim you're potter, which is very shocking for Jeff and for me. But that's what we're saying. According to Rabbi Yosef, Toysus says we're not talking about the Metzias now, we're talking about the Reisha and the Seifa. We're only trying to reconcile the stira between the Reisha and the Seifa. So, according to Rabba, it's very good. According to Rabbi Yosef, it's not a machlokes. The Reisha talks about a really private bore. I'm potu. Get out of my sight. You asked me to come here, you Mr. Professor. And the Seifa is talking about a bore, yes, right near, very, very accessible to the Rabbim. And then you're chayev according to everybody. Now, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, according to Rabbi Yosef, everybody means Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. According to Rabbi Yosef, everybody, meaning Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva, both agree Reshus hayochid is chayev. Sorry, everybody, I should have stressed again, everybody means both Tanoim, according to Rabbi Yosef. They all agree Reshus hayochid is chayev. Yosef, Yochid. Rabbi Yosef says that both Tanoim, Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva, all Reshus hayochid is chayev. Yeah. The two psukim. There's no posuk for that. That's I think logical. We'll see it later on the sugya. Maisa, you're ruining the shusada. You're not chayvanim. You're not chayvanim, but it's also because indirectly it's going to cause wear and tear. And but it's not so much the issue now. There will be another issue again about how to follow this. They'll be discussed. Zok the Gemara, Omar Avashi. Now Avashi comes and tells us more news according to what we just said. Hashtag Kim to Rav Yosef Divrako. Now that Rav Yosef came out so nicely, and both Reisha and Seifa fits both Tanoim. Let's repeat Rav Yosef. Everybody, meaning Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva, everybody gives Rishus Yochid is chayiv, and that's what the Brisa says through and through. Why is the Reisha potur? Because it was a real Rishus Yochid that he never allowed anybody to come into. The Seifa that's Rishus Yochid, everyone's mechayev. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva, that's Rishus Yochid, which one sunny day said, "I'm a nice guy. All the kids in the neighborhood can come and play hefker. Oh, what a tzaddik!" And then all the kids came in and all fell into the bore. So then says Rabbi Shmuel, says Rabbi Yosef, that Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Kiva will be mechayev. That's a brisa. Or the one too close for comfort, the one right next to Shus Harabi. Zok now Rabashi, LeRabba Nami, now that we've said that, let's get creative with Rabba also. Lo tukne ketanoi. According to Rabba too, we don't have any more to say that the brisa is a shtickle broken, the first part like one Tana, the other one like another Tana. Now we can say in Rabba too that there's consistency. Why? Min the Reisha Rabbi Shmuel, Seifa Nami Rabbi Shmuel. I can say both Reisha and Seifa is Rabbi Shmuel. Both now, according to Rabbi Shmuel said, even according to Rabbi Shmuel says Rishus Yochid, you're potur, right? Rabbi Shmuel potur is Rishus Yochid. Rabbi Shmuel is through and through, you're always potur, meaning in the Reisha potur, it's Rishus Yochid. Rabbi Shmuel potur is Rishus Yochid. Why was he mechayiv in the Seifa? The taima de leushin, alav leushin chayiv. You're asking me why is a person who's not building for refurbishing? Why is he chayiv? Why? Rishus Yochid chayiv for Rabbi Shmuel? How come? Kigon de arba charvuchi Rishus Harabim. Says Rashi, arba charvuchi. He basically told everybody, "You're welcome to come in." In other words, he's so nice. People are angry with him. There's been shiputzim. Everyone can come in. Arba charvuchi says Rashi. The Hagor here says, not only built it next to Rishus Harabim, he said the entire building area, anybody can go there. They didn't see the bore. It's a small one. He's doing all kinds of shiputzim. So he says, everyone, I'm not Iriyat Yerushalayim. Yesterday I was in the street in Yerushalayim, the Rakevet Hakala. It's an obstacle course. You didn't know where to go here and there, like in Tanfeni Sharim. You're basically, the street is the building site. This guy's nice. He says anybody can come into the building area. So it's double trouble. It's what? It's right next to, not only next to, it's mamish inside. Mamish allows everyone to come in officially. That is so bad that even Rabbi Yosef, even Rabbi Shmuel would agree you're chayv on. Arba chavuchi, that's double trouble. It's not just accessible, but he's not telling people stay away, stay away. No, he welcomes everybody to come in. And they don't notice the bore necessarily. It's something small. Mimela, in such a case, Arba chavuchi, he allows them to come in, makes it accessible to them. That is so bad that even according to Rabbi Shmuel, you're going to be chayv on that. That's an exception to the rule. Okay? Meisivi. So now we see that even though according to Rabbi Shmuel, you're potter and Rishus Yochid, there are two exceptions to the rule. Interesting. Let's summarize for a minute. According to those, let's take Rabbah. There's a machlokes about Rishus Yochid, nachon, between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva, yes or no? But there are two extremes that everyone would agree to. If I'm building in my domain and it's right next to the street for Ushin, for Shiputzim, that's okay. As long as people know they're not supposed to come to my place, even though they're right 1 centimeter off, Shiputzim is accepted. Everybody needs to do Shiputzim one stage in their lives, and that's okay. On the other hand, the case where everyone would agree is not good, if it's Shiputzim and I told everyone, come in wherever you want. I made it too accessible to them, then everyone would agree that it's a problem. Okay? That's how Rabbah would view it. The machlokes is the middle of the road case. Meisivi, another brisa to challenge. And that's the last challenge for today. Afterwards, we have a Gadita. For the good boys who managing to this sugya, afterwards, we're going to have very sweet Gadita. Tell me what's the case over here? The ball's opening is Rishus Harabim, but the cavity is Most of it is on Reshus HaYochid. Chayev. That's called the Bo Be Reshus HaRabim. Because that's where the door is, as we call it. Reshus HaYochid is Smucha Reshus HaRabim. Potu. If it's in Reshus HaYochid right next to Reshus HaRabim, but the opening is Reshus HaYochid, Potu. Okay? Basically, Reshus HaRabim, you chayev. Reshus HaYochid, you potu. Sounds nice. Bisham al-Rabba, Kula Rabbi Shmueli. According to Rabba, it's very good. Who's the one, according to Rabba, that debates, that says Reshus HaYochid potu, Reshus HaRabim chayev? That's Rabbi Shmuel. Right? Rabba says everyone's chayev Reshus HaRabim. But Rabbi Shmuel is mechalik between Yochid and Rabim, according to Rabba. Look at the chart. Yeah? According to Rabba, according to Rabbi Shmuel, Reshus HaYochid potu, Reshus HaRabim chayev, the Brisa is a buba. Ela lo Rabbi Yosef, Rega, Ela lo Rabbi Yosef, according to Rabbi Yosef, that's not good. What did Rabbi Yosef say? That everybody agrees that Reshus HaYochid you chayev. Bishlam Reisha Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel is the Reisha that's good, because that's Reshus HaRabim. Ela Sefer Mani, lo Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Kiva. Excuse me, Rabbi Yosef. How can a Brisa exist saying Reshus HaYochid is potu? You told me Reshus HaYochid is always chayiv, and the Brisa says potu. Amar lecha, easy answer. I told you the answer already. V'choyfer le'ushin v'divrei hakol. Shiputzim, shibutzim. The Arabs call it shibutzim. Yeah. In other words, we're talking here that he's doing le'ushin. He wants to reinforce and strengthen the foundations of his house, the oshiot, the foundations of his house, and therefore we say that case is special permission, not from the area, permission from Chazal, to do whatever you want, as long as it's not, obviously, like Peretz says, as long as it's not really causing a collapse in Reshus HaRabim, and that's okay, L'kula Alma, because everybody knows that there are like two extremes that everybody agrees to. Again, Ushin for Shiputzim, as long as I'm a little bit off Reshus HaRabim is okay. But if it's what? Shiputzim, and it's, I told everyone that can come in to my place, then everyone agrees that I am chayiv on that. Machlokes is the case which is middle of the road regular case. Yeah, the board remained mine, and it was mafkir the rest. Yes. One of the two dots. Chofar uposach. A person dug a hole, opened it in Reshus HaRabim, umosar lerabim. He gave it to the Rabim. He's a nice donor. He likes to donate. Instead of Beis Tzvi, he donates to the public a well full of water. That's a nice guy. Potu, somebody fell into the well, and they'll come and complain to him. Kiminiga Medina, sometimes people mean to do something good, and Medina blames them that they did something wrong. This guy is all beautiful heart. He dug a hole for everyone with water. He could have maybe claimed it to be his, lo there. And Lamaisa, he gave everybody else the right to use it, even if somebody fell inside his potu. Says the Amshel Shlomo, that is only true if the majority of town are interested in that. Everybody heard the joke about the scout boys. They took the old lady, each one on each side, and made her cross the street against her will. Big Ma'aseh Chesed, they had to hold her. The Ma'aseh Chesed helped the old lady. So here too, it shouldn't be a forced thing. Yeah, it should not be a forced thing. It should be something that either people are quiet, silent consent, or at least people should say to either the majority or Shiva Tovei. Shiva Tovei is the halachic term for the representatives of town, the 7 good men of town. But if that's accepted upon that this bow is of public service and it was warmly accepted by everyone, and then somebody fell in his potu because now it belongs to everybody. It's really not his anymore. Bichlal. He gave over everything to everybody. But if a person opened the bowl full of water and said, "This is mine," excuse the pun, he's mining and he says mine, and he doesn't allow anybody else to drink from it. In the middle of the street, he has a bowl with water, and people fell in and drowned. He's chayiv. That was the custom, the minhag of Nechunya, the one who used to dig holes, good wells in Reshus HaRabim, and he would actually open the wells, find water, and give them over to other people instead of claiming rights for the well. for the basically the like a spring that he found. No, he gave it to everybody. Sheshomi Chachamim Bedovo, when Chachamim heard that, Amru Kiem Zeh Halacha Zu. This man is Mekayim this halacha. Is Mekayim the halacha of really he's doing a mitzvah and he's potter even if people would fall inside. And he's the one who dug the well. He's potter. That halacha actually is expressed through him. Is that the only halacha is Mekayim? He's not from except for one mitzvah of the chesed that he's doing and a ptur. Says the Gemara, no. In other words, he's Mekayim Chol Torah Kula to the best of his ability. Plus, he has extra zchus that the rabbim are drinking from his well. Oh, so now he's Mekayim mitzvahs, and even that extra halacha, that extra maila of doing chesed is also in this time. Tonu Abonon, two dots. Line starts with halacha and there are two dots. Tonu Abonon. That same person, his daughter, what happened to her? She fell into a big pit. They came and told Rabi Chanina ben Doisa, the big tzaddik, and they probably asked him for bracha, for advice, for what are you telling us? The first hour she was there, he said, I know she's at peace. I know she's okay. One piece, at peace. Shnia, second hour, Omer Lehem Shalom. I know that she's still okay. Shlishis, the third hour, Omer Lehem also. I know, says Rabi Chanina ben Doisa, seemingly acting like a Hasidic Rebbe, like he knows the word for Kodesh. And what? He says, I know that she's out of the bar already. And really, that was true. So it was. He was right in his, not prediction, in his Ke'ilu prophecy. It wasn't prophecy. Omru Lo, afterwards they interviewed the girl. All the TV stations. She was, Omru Lo, everyone asked her, Mi Helach, who was the one who took you out? She was in a bowl full of water. I don't know if she knew how to swim. Who actually got you out of there? Omru Lohem, she told them, Zocher shel rechelim nizdamenli. There was a Zocher shel rechelim, basically a ram, a big ram. Zoken echad manhigoi. And there was an old man that would lead him, like a shepherd, and they picked me up. Who was the Ayil? It was Ayil Shel Yitzchak Avinu. And who was the old man? You can imagine, it was Abraham. It was Avraham Avinu. Why them? I think, I didn't see the Marsha, I wanted to. Mesiras Nefesh, it was Moiser Nefesh to give it his son. And also Avraham Avinu is the master of Chesed. So he's the one who's helping the daughter of the biggest Baal Chesed and Moiser Nefesh. So Bekitzer, everything that Rabi Chanina ben Doisa predicted is really what happened. Omuloi, Novi Ata. They asked Rabi Chanina ben Doisa, are you a Nabi? Are you a prophet? Because Nevuah was already taken away at the times of the Noim. There was either Nevuah and afterwards already, after there was no Nevuah at the times of the Mishnah already. Novi Ata. Omar Lahem, so replied like this, Loi Novi Anoichi, Velo Ben Novi Anoichi. I'm not a prophet, not a son of a prophet. So how did you know? That's what I assumed. I highly assumed mitzad logic. What's his logic? The same thing that the tzaddik is mitztair as he's exerting himself. This tzaddik is taking extra care and is doing a lot in order to provide everybody with water in the wells. That very thing, that will be the stumbling stone. That will be the obstacle for his children. Doesn't make sense. I just knew it that Hashem would not punish a person in exactly the same tchum, the same realm, that turf that he's good in. Frekt, my son. I said it yesterday to my 6-year-old son. My 6, I think, yeah, 6-year-old son. And he said, so how did you know about the hours? He knew that she was alive, but how did you know first hour, second hour? Answers Rashi. Rashi answers my son's question. Says Rashi, Shori Shona and Shnia, medically, scientifically speaking, he knew that people can still survive in the water. So in the first and second hour, he said, I know she's fine. Either in or out of the water, it's not even a question yet. The third hour is the crucial time. That's the deadline. And at that point, if she's not out, she's be dead. She's either dead or alive. She's not, working on it. She's either dead or alive. At that point, I knew she was alive. Why? Because for sure, I knew that something bad would not happen to the child of someone who's so particular in that area of chesed. Okay? Omar bi'acha, Ellen, you're smarter than us. Let the Gemara speak. Omar bi'acha, rak rega. Omar bi'acha, no, it's fine, very nice. Omar bi'acha, afel pichen meis b'noi batzomo, oy vay boy. Even though in spite of that, his son died from thirst, which is also something similar. Yeah? But his son died from this. How come? Didn't we just say, doesn't that break the whole entire beautiful building we built? Says the Gemara, the famous line, Shenema, and everything will be explained. The one surrounding Hashem is very nis'ar. Se'ara means many things. Either some means tempest with a samech, and se'ara is with a sin, is hair. Melamed, that teaches us, the one surrounding Hashem, the big tzaddikim, svivav nis'ara. The big tempest, the big thing is like se'ara, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu's medakdek is very particular with tzaddikim on a hair, I would say in English, hair splitting. In other words, even things as thin as hair, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is much more demanding of people who are big tzaddikim. So on one hand, the actual bow that she fell into, we knew nothing is going to happen. On the other hand, his son did die because it was such a high level, and maybe something was missing in his chesed, maybe something was missing in his high level, he's holding so high, in his very high level, there's a hair-splitting factor that's missing, and that's why his son died. How did Ben Dosa know that his daughter didn't die? Maybe here too, you can say that Hashem is very demanding of him, and therefore maybe she did die. Answer Tosis, no. Look at what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, in general, when the son died, he died out of thirst. It's connected to his chesed, but a bit more remote. But to die in the well mamish, the well that possibly he dug, the well is his zchus, in the very, very zchus of the tzaddik, in that he won't be punished. He will be punished severely. A son dying, lo leinu chalila, is a terrible thing. Yeah, may Hashem send refuah to all the cholim, terrible what's going on. Hashem yazor. But lamaisa, in the very, very same item, so to speak, where the tzaddik excels in, which is the bow, in the borscht is not going to die. Other things, efsha, that's because of tzaddikim, shloch medaktik yichut hasayim. That's what Tosfos says. Okay? Rabbi Nechunya, Omar Mehocha. Rabbi Nechunya, all similar names. Chanina, right? And we had Rabbi Nechunya, Choy for Boyres. Now another Rabbi Nechunya comes. Omar Mehocha. He gives us another source that Hashem is very particular with the tzaddikim. Kel Na'arot. Hashem is admired beside Kedoshim Rabbah. In the great Kedoshim secret, in their secret society of the tzaddikim, Hashem is very admired. The noiro al kol svivav. He's noiro, he's odd, he's full of awe, awesome, al kol svivav, by his surroundings. Yira, what's yira? Says Rashi here, matil emes mishpotov aleim. He actually is, he practices, applies his ema, his fear, his awe on those tzaddikim, and mimeno, the demands are much higher. Amar Rabi Chanina. Again, Rabi Chanina now, and another statement related to that. This is now, I'm going to stand in the soapbox soon. Prepare the soapbox for me. Amar Chanina, political commentary is coming soon. Amar Chanina, whoever says Hashem is vatran, how do you say in English? Mevater, giving in, gives in, doesn't care. Whoever says Hashem is what? No, sorry. There's difference between levater and limchol, and that's exactly the point. Yeah. Mevater means before it happened. Mevater means Hashem doesn't care. Hashem overlooks. Hashem turns a blind eye. In other words, whoever says, "Come on, you can do it," Hashem will just turn a blind eye, and Hashem just doesn't care if you do that small. I saw in the Yam Shlomo. A guy would tell his friend, "Come on, that's a small sin. I'm Orthodox. I believe in the whole Torah. That's a small sin." Hashem just won't look. He just doesn't care. Whoever says that is a terrible thing, you know what's going to happen to him? Yivatru chayov. His own life will be mevater. His whole life will be hefker, and his body will be hefker. If you say Hashem is just hefker belt, your own life, lo aleinu, will not be guarded by Hashem. Hashem doesn't care about you, I don't know, talking in shul between this and that. Hashem doesn't care about you talking about Chazar Sashat, Kaddish. Well, he doesn't care. He won't care about your parnosa or your health either. Make up your mind. Does Hashem care or doesn't care? Like he cares about what you want to care. You're creating the Kadosh Baruch Hu of in the box that you have in your mind. You're creating your own God. Kadosh Baruch Hu is not mevater on anything. Wait a second. Shenema, it says, Atzu Tomim Paoloi, the Tzu, the rock, the perfect one, Tomim Paoloi, his actions are all perfect. Yichol Rochav Mishpat, each and every way of his is Mishpat. Oh, frecked everybody. What? How can you say that? Didn't we learn there's an entire sefer, yourshir.com, Tomer Dvora, and Tomer Dvora tells you through and through Hashem loves everybody. And Hashem forgives everybody. V'chule, v'chule. So is Hashem forgiving or not forgiving? The answer is very, very easy, actually. And here's my political commentary, because today we live in a very weak generation. And you can't tell children techacha, and you can't tell people, teenagers, b'chalal, it's all love and all positive, and that's the only way. A lot of Gedolim say that. So what's the story really? Well, where's the difference? That's like I said before. To say Hashem does take note of each and every small action is the only way. He cares, and yes, he may punish. But if a person does tshuva, he'll forgive him. Or a person sees it in a more forgiving way, a person has terrible, difficult childhood, a person has his reasons, Hashem, instead of punishing him this way, will punish him that way. Or the Hashem will, as we'll see soon, will wait for the person to do tshuva on the small sin. But to lechatchila say that the small sin is not written anywhere, is not recording on any computer up there, so to speak, on the cloud. Today we don't save in computers, we save in cloud. If you say Hakadosh Baruch Hu's cloud just doesn't register your maisim, that's kfira, that's terrible. He registers everything. It's up to debate. He may wait for a long time until do tshuva. He may have considerations and erase it afterwards because of tefillos, because of tears, because of something else you did. That's a different shaila. But he does, yeah, but when you actually do the avera, every small avera is being registered. What happens later, that's a different story. But don't think that the averas are just to disappear into thin air. Like the person does not have a bank account in Shamayim. That's zero. And that even through the term Dvar, I noticed, through all 13 midas of beautiful Ava, he never said Hashem doesn't count averas. He keeps saying Hashem loves the Rosha and loves the Rosha because he waits for him to do tshuva, or he understands his motives. But it doesn't mean that the averas, which is a reality in the world, are just not counted. That's very important to differentiate between mevater and moichel. Hashem forgives if he has to forgiveness, not mevater like he gives in to begin with and completely turns blind eye. It's not the same. Yeah, to turn a blind eye means a parent should do it with the child. Just don't notice how she's dressed right now. You pretend as you don't. You don't notice what he did to him. You don't notice it on purpose. That's one thing. If you notice, then you notice. Then it has to be taken care of. That's two different things. Amar B'chana, wow, same thing, same name. Amar B'chana, similar name. B'temer B'shmol B'nachmeini. My dechtiv. What does it mean when it says erech apayim? When in your Gimel Midas it says erech apayim. What's erech apayim? The one who has very long breath. In other words, he waits with his anger for a long time. Anger is af. Why apayim? Anger, what's a double, what's a plural over here? You can say it's marich af. Yeah. In other words, he waits for a long time. He has like long breath. Yeah. He's saying there are two nostrils, but what does it mean? Why not erech af? Why? Erech apayim letzadikim v'loreshoyim. Says Rashi, no, af is not necessarily anger. Af means will, rotzoin. One for good and one for bad. Says Rashi, for the tzaddikim Hashem waits and does not pay them their compensation, their reward right away. Many times it takes years, and many times it takes a lifetime until they step into Olam Haba, from Evesrim. That's much later. You don't see the tzaddik enjoying himself in this world necessarily. And what about the Rosha? Same thing. Hashem waits for a long time for the Rosha until it does tshuva. Doesn't mean that the bear is not registered up there. He's not acting upon it until a long time passes. That's, yeah. And Tosfos says also, like me, you can see the first Tosfos, he says, depends if you do tshuva, you don't do tshuva. It's up to your tshuva. Says the Gemara, Turatz. We are now starting today's Amud. No, whatever. Noon Amud base. Tano Abonon. Story time. Story from Kosu Chachamim. Lo yisakel odem shusa lo shusa rabim. A person should not throw stones, not because our car is going on Shabbos. I mean to say there are stones that he wants to de-stone his field, to clear his stones from field, his field from stones. Yeah. So then in Shemitah you shouldn't do it. Yeah. Now he wants to clear his field. Where does he throw the stones? So Reshus Harabim. That's convenient. Don't do that. Don't do that because you are harming, you are injuring the public. Yeah, you're disturbing the public by throwing from your Reshus to the other. Like people throw garbage from the house to the Cheder Madragot. Never happened in my life. Yeah. So in their house it's all pristine clean. Cheder Madragot looks like a garbage can. That's not allowed. Story time. There was once a person. A person did do exactly that. He threw stones from his own private domain to the Reshus Rabim, which is a public domain. Soon, Baruch, you'll be very happy because what you said is going to be mentioned now. The Chosid, the very pious man, found him. Omar Loreka, you empty man. Why are you throwing stones from a domain that's not yours to a domain that is yours? Sounds like the tzaddik gets everything confused. It's just the other way. Ligleg Olov, says Rashi, beautiful. He mocked him. Ligleg, he mocked the tzaddik. The Rosh would mock the tzaddik because he didn't understand the reason. That's like 2021. People don't have the reason of something in half a second. They say it's shtriot, right? He discarded of the idea right away. Shtriot, you got it wrong, mister. This is my house, and that's not my house. I'll throw something from my house, which bothers me, to the street. Yomi, but as soon you'll see what the tzaddik meant. Yomi, eventually, that man impoverished and had to sell his field. And he walked in Reshus Harabim. The very same stones that he threw, now he stumbled upon them. Oma, now he got his lesson. Now I understand what he meant. He was right. You know other Reshus is not yours because your own house will not necessarily be your house forever. You may have to sell your house. Yeah, houses, they move hands. The Reshus Shelcha, as Baruch said, in a sense, Reshus Harabim is always everyone's Reshus. Even if a person is homeless, the street is his house. Even a rich person has to go down the street. So the street will always be yours because you'll always be part of the public. So you're actually throwing stones from a domain that's temporarily yours, which is not really yours, into a Reshus which will always be yours, which is Reshus Harabim. And therefore, you're very short-sighted. And then the regular person got the message from the Hasid. Questions? However, halachically, Baruch and Ellen, we don't deal with Reshus Harabim as Reshus Yochid. Agaditically, musardically, we do. But if somebody digs on Reshus Harabim, digs on Reshus Yochid, that's a different story. That's not considered the same thing. Okay, Shiur is over by the Mishnah. Thank you very much. Thank you.